Alright, for this tutorial I'd like you to begin by opening Adobe InDesign. We are going to go over the very basic information about Adobe InDesign. As a refresher, remember that it is a program used to gather both text, pictures, and vectors. We will eventually be creating a magazine spread to learn the various tools that are available to you, but for right now we're going to do a quick overview. We are going to set up our document to begin the magazine layout, but that will begin in the next tutorial. So for right now, what you need to understand about the startup menu is simply the two sides. One side is open a recent item. So if you work on this several days in class, you should be able to simply see your document right there. Now you may just choose to go to your folder and open the document from there instead of booting up InDesign first. But also what you need to know is you have this create new. We are most of the time just simply going to create a document. The book and the library feature are probably a more advanced part of InDesign. So go ahead and click new. It'll give you this dialog box. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an 11 by 17 piece of that's called tabloid. And you actually want to change the orientation from portrait to landscape by clicking this button right here. That should be everything you need, and go ahead and say OK. And it will bring you to this window. What I would like you to do immediately is go ahead and say File, and we're going to say Save. Remember, your Project 1 folder is in your Z drive, and it is under your individual folder. Okay, you're going to go into the tutorial folder, but for right now, I'm just going to name it Fiechner_ magazine. Okay, that way you know exactly what it is as you do it. All right, it is now ready to use. Once we begin adding things, anytime we hit save, it'll stay where we need it to be. So let's start with the very basics. First thing you need to know is the black arrow is your default cursor. If at any point you are drawing things or moving the mouse around and doing things that you aren't intending to do, you need to make sure you are on this black arrow. It is called the direct select key. That means if you have an object, which I'm going to go ahead and create simply a black box. You don't need to do this unless you would like to just play around with it. It is a direct select tool. It means if I am on the black arrow, it selects the entire object. Okay, it selects it in its entirety. If I am on the white arrow, it gives you the ability to select only parts of the object at a time. What I need to do is click off of that. Now I can come in and grab only that side of my box, which is just the line. And as you can see, I'm moving just that line itself. Obviously, it's still connected to the rest of the shape, so it's giving me kind of a parallelogram. I can also select only one node. Use this indirect selection to select just one little node. Okay, so before I had selected the line, right now I'm just selecting one point. Okay, so those are the differences between the white arrow and the black arrow. Remember, do note that if you've clicked on an object with your black arrow and you go directly to the white arrow, you have to click off of it and then come back and hover over the area of what you want to click. Otherwise, it will continue selecting the entire object. So if you're testing this out on your screen and you're having trouble moving these things around, you may need to click off of it and then hover over what you want to change. The next one that we're going to be using quite a bit is this T, okay, and you will see more depth on how to use that text. You also have a line tool, and it's simple. It draws a line. There are options to change what type of line, dotted, dashed. You can also change the thickness of the line so that you can see it. This could be used as a decorative element in a layout, a way of separating columns, lots of different options. The next tool you have is called the Pin tool. It also has several options. You won't be doing much with the Pin tool in InDesign, but once we start Illustrator, there will be lots of opportunities to use the Pin tool. Just quickly, it's essentially like having the line tool, but instead of just creating a straight line, it gives you the ability to click and drag and create lots of strange shaped lines. It is a very complex tool that, again, we will get into more detail with when we begin Illustrator, but it is the same properties as a straight line. It just gives you the ability to make it an organic shape as opposed to just one straight line. All the same options apply. You can change the type of line, you can change the thickness of the line, you can change the color. So again, maybe an opportunity for a decorative element. Your pencil tool, smooth and erase tool. Again, these are not used very often in InDesign, but they're just exactly what they sound like. You click on the mouse, holding it down, continually holding the button down. I have not released the mouse button yet, and you can use it like a pencil, just like a free drawing pencil. If I wanted to say select only part of it to adjust maybe one node, you can come back after creating that line and adjust only parts of it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. The next tool down is this box right here, and we will go over it again with more detail, but it's called the rectangular frame tool. It has an X through it because it's meant to have pictures placed inside of it. You can make a straight rectangle, okay, and you'll notice it'll put a big X through it. You can make a circular shape, and then the picture will fill the shape of the circle, and you can create a polygonal frame. And you can place a picture in any of these three shapes, and the picture will take that shape on. The next one is a shape tool. It looks exactly the same as the rectangular frame tool, with the exception that there is no X through it. It is just meant to be shapes. It will not place an X through the middle, you'll notice, because it is not meant to accommodate a picture. I'm going to go ahead and put the two next to each other. Okay, this is the rectangular frame tool. When I get to the portion about placing pictures, this is the tool that you will use. If you want to add decorative elements, you will use your regular rectangular tool, and you can simply add colors to it, you can add a gradient to it. All of that we will go over in more detail, but that is the difference between the two. The left one with the X is for pictures, the right one is just a graphic, just something to help. Gradient tool, okay, if we go back and add a box, okay, this is again our graphic box, not a picture box, and we go to this gradient tool, what you can do is click, holding your mouse button, and drag. You hold the mouse button down as you pull it along. That line will maintain, and it will simply fill your box with a gradient. Zoom, very important. You will definitely use that. It's set default to zoom in, so if you start clicking, it is naturally going to zoom in on whatever you are looking at. When you are ready to zoom out, you hold the Alt key. Okay, notice the magnifying glass changes from a plus to a minus. The Alt key will zoom out for you. You can always click with your mouse, or you can start in the upper left-hand corner of what you want to zoom in on and click and drag to the lower right. So those are the two ways of zooming. There are also shortcut keys that you can explore if you would like on your own. This tool right here is a dropper tool. The dropper tool is important if you're trying to copy a color, or let's say you're using a picture that you want to grab a color from, which we will do later on when we begin our magazine tutorial. But what the dropper does is you select the object that you want to apply the color to. Then you can click on this dropper, okay, and you can simply go to the object that you want to copy from. So I'm just going to make this right now transparent box also a black box. The nice thing about the dropper tool is it will also copy font. So if I have created a title or maybe even written a paragraph and I want to copy that later on, let's see, I have that right there. What will happen is every time you make a text box, it's usually going to go to the default. If I were to type hello again, you'll see it's very tiny, and instead of highlighting it and going and changing over everything up here, which again we'll talk about more detail later, I can use this dropper tool and hover over the text I want to highlight, and you'll see that it creates the same font. Last one that you need to understand is this color box. Okay, if you are seeing a long, skinny toolbar, this little arrow right here, okay, sorry, not that little arrow, it makes it into two-sided instead of one-sided. So again, if you see that, to click it twice, I guess, then you can make it two-sided. I like the two-sided toolbar because it makes this box right here quite a bit bigger. That box is used fairly often, whether it's adding an outline or changing the color of the graphics in the background. What you need to understand about this box. The first box right here, the one that is currently has a red slash through it, that is the fill. That is what goes inside of whatever shape you are creating. Okay, that is the fill button. So when you change that color, which you can do by double clicking on it, I'll do that again. You go and you hover over it, you double click, it will give you either the color picker, okay, where you can kind of randomly select colors, changing this bar up and down. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And then that color will fill the box that you are using. Okay, you can also change this color by going over to the color tab. Okay, it's essentially the same thing, you just don't have to double click on it. When you want to change the outline, currently we have a black outline, so I'm going to go back to my direct select and I'm going to bump up that outline so you can really see what I'm talking about. Okay. So currently our outline is black. If you want to change it, there's one of two ways to do it. You can click on the little arrow. Okay, that'll flip the colors. It flips what's in the fill color to what's in the outline color. If you want to change the outline color, okay, let's say I'm going to flip it back. If I have a black outline, but say I want a purple box with a pink, you just hover over the outline and click on it, and you'll notice that it comes to the front. So here the fill color is in front, here the outline is in front, and you change the outline the same way you change the fill color. So that within the double click method, you can choose whatever color you like. The possibilities are endless. Okay. The last thing is just this bar at the bottom. It simply is going to store the most recent colors. There's always the no color right there. Okay, so let's say we made this box and you decide you don't want it to have an outline. You just go ahead and click right there. That button is always there. That outline, or excuse me, that no color box is always right there. This box changes to be whatever the most recent color you used. So that is your basic toolbar. Again, if you want to go double-sided, you click the arrow. If you want to go across the top, or you can do a single-sided toolbar. That is everything you need to know on that particular tool.